Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode. I'm so excited to have you here. I have a bit of a unique, I think, topic, something that I don't typically talk about, and I'm going to explain to you why I want to talk about it today. So I figured I would do kind of a deeper dive discussion, explanation of why I recently offered 100% guarantee, money back guarantee on my mastermind. So if you are new here, I have a mastermind. I've launched it for the first time, and it is for a small group of high achieving women who are sort of stuck, who have checked off all the boxes, who have created success, who have the life that everybody thinks they should have, but are still deeply unfulfilled, or there's something that is not right and it is not where they want to be. And part of the point of this mastermind is to help them figure out what's next. What is the fulfilling thing? What is the thing that's going to fill them up? What is the life they want? What is the future they want to create? And so I'm super excited to go on this very intense and beautiful journey with 10 women over the next 6 months. We have an in-person retreat. It's very high touch. It is also high ticket, which means it is expensive. It's $10,000 for this program. And one of the decisions I made was to offer a guarantee, which means if you don't get the transformation that I say you're going to get in this program, I will give you your money back. And this isn't like some kind of catch. There isn't like, I don't know, there isn't a ton of fine print. I guess the only fine print is that like you actually have to do the program. Like I can't guarantee it if you don't show up for the calls or you don't do the exercises or you don't get the coaching. Obviously, like I can't get you the result that you want. But if you do, if you really come in like because you want it and you are just scared that like, is this investment worth it? Is it going to pay off? I wanted to create kind of that sense of safety to know like if it doesn't work for you, I'll give you your money back. And I want to talk about this not because I typically talk about business stuff, but there was so much thought work that went into it for me. And I want to kind of bring you in behind the scenes of how I make certain business decisions. And this is how I usually coach. A lot of people in the Quitter Club I know are entrepreneurs. We have like a monthly entrepreneurial call, and there's tons of people that have their own businesses. There's tons of coaches I know that follow me and have used my work. And so I figured that it might help you in how you think about your business. And even if you don't have a business, I want you to just see kind of the thought process that I put behind making certain decisions. And it goes beyond kind of the surface level of, what can I get for this, or why, maybe I think like on the whole, we kind of understand why having a guarantee could be helpful, but I tend to do things from a different kind of lens. And I want you all to kind of see how I approach my business. And I tend to want to share more behind the scenes and why I do things. And so I figured this might be a good opportunity to do that, to like let you in on like how I made this decision for a new offer that I don't have the results for. So like when you already have an offer and you have a ton of testimonials and you can show how it's changed people's lives, it can be easier to get people to feel like a little bit of safety of, oh, she's done this. I know I can expect, like other people have gotten this result. I feel a little bit, better about investing in that. When you haven't done something like that, when it's like your first time launching something or you're creating something new, there may not be that built-in safety, even though I do think I have the results that have spoken for, the last 6 years of my coaching. And it's bringing that to this group. You have to sort of think about how do I give people that sense of a little bit of safety of knowing like, hey, what I'm doing with my money is not going to be a waste, right? Okay. So that's the long-winded way of saying what I want to talk about with this program, the mastermind that I'm doing, and why I decided to do 100% guarantee. This isn't typical. And I understand why. Like I want to off the bat acknowledge that I'm extremely privileged to be able to do this. So not everybody can do this in their business. And I understand because in order for a business to run, you need to have certain things. And sometimes you don't have the bandwidth or the luxury to be able to provide a promise like this. And I'm going to explain why. I have had a business that has been I have coaching tends to have a higher margin. I don't have a product where I have to like buy a bunch of inventory. Sometimes when you're doing like, let's say in the food business or in a product business, you have very small margins. And so if you're already paying to, buy the journals or assemble whatever the product is that you have, or to buy the food that you have to make, it is really difficult because you're using the money that you get for that product in order to then fund the next product and whatnot. And so there isn't a lot of wiggle room, and you're working on a lot of like really thinner margins. And so it's harder to create a reserve in your bank account, right? It's harder to have a level of money in your business bank account that can give you the freedom to be able to maybe do something like this. With coaching, that, not every coach, but that doesn't tend to be the case. It is usually, it's a service industry. There isn't a ton of overhead. And so for me, like, I've been able to have higher margins. I've been able to create a pretty healthy cushion in my bank account that I have in order to feel okay of like, if anything goes wrong, that I have this kind of money to be able to fix whatever problem kind of happens. And I also am from a place where like I'm married. My husband has a salary that we use to kind of run our lives. And so I'm not in this place where like, if I had to pay all of the bills every month, I don't know if I could be able to do something like this. Maybe I could, depending on how much reserves I had. But I'm just saying, like, I understand that I'm in a unique position to be able to provide that, knowing that, like, if, again, I don't expect that I would have to give everybody their money back, or I wouldn't be doing a program like this if I thought that that was the case. But let's say if that was the case, I have that on reserves. Like, I have the ability to be able to pay people back. So I think that is just off the bat. I understand why businesses don't do this. I don't in any way from this episode mean to imply that everybody should offer a guarantee. I think it's already very difficult to run a business. And I think it's very difficult to kind of project what's going to happen 6 months out and to have that money on hand. So I can understand why people don't. But one of the things I've been really thinking about a lot lately as I think about what I want to do with my business moving forward, or what I want to do in this next chapter, is I want to think about things in like a different way. I think if we always do things the way they've been done, then nothing will change. And if people that have privilege don't do things that they can do, then who will, right? Like, if we don't test it out, because like I have the bandwidth and I have the ability and I have the safety net in order to try this out, then I can't expect other businesses who don't have that to test it out to tell me like, hey, this works, or this is actually like really effective or whatnot. And I realize like, when we talk about capitalism, there's so much talk about capitalism right now on, social media, which is a great thing to kind of like look at all the terrible things that capitalism does. And I think that if we want a different system, we have to try different things. And so there have been, I'm not in any way comparing myself to these people, but there have been people who have decided, to raise their minimum wage for their workers when the rest of the world doesn't, right? Like the rest of the world, or not the world, the rest of the country is at like $13 for minimum wage. And, Costco goes to, let's say, $20. Like, that is an intentional decision to say like, hey, a lot of businesses can't survive on paying their employees $20 an hour, but like we can, or $25 or whatever it is, or giving them benefits. Or we've heard of stories of like, there was a company where I think the CEO made everybody's minimum like had to be like $100,000 from like the kind of lowest entry employee. And so it allowed for more of a livable wage. He got a ton of backlash about how his business was going to go under, and it didn't. But again, he had the type of business that he could offer that. Not everybody can, but I think it is important for there to be an example, for someone to say like, hey, I did this and my business didn't go under and nothing happened. And so one of the things that I was really thinking about in this is like, I think that it's easy to get caught in like, well, nobody else is doing this, or is this crazy to do this, or am I stupid to do this? And could it be kind of a big flop? Maybe it could. But I realized for me, like, I do have the privilege. It doesn't jeopardize my business. I can provide this level of safety for my clients. So why wouldn't I, right? Why wouldn't I be the one that gives it a try, right? Sees like how this works in actual practice. And so I'm very aware of how privileged I am, and I want to use that privilege to give some more safety, some more peace of mind to the people that want to join my programs. So that was sort of really the impetus, the catalyst of like me thinking about this. So why did I decide to do it? One thing is that like, I think that we all have seen and understand that there's a problem in the coaching industry, or in kind of the content world, online content world, where people have felt scammed out of things, or people have felt taken advantage of, or people have paid for things and have not gotten what they thought they were going to get, myself included, by the way. I have a different thought kind of as I go into it, but I can understand how devastating that can feel when you put your trust in someone and you invest your money and you have kind of spent all this time thinking about whether it's going to work, and you do it and it doesn't work for you, or it's not what you thought it was going to be, or just kind of lackluster, doesn't really have what you thought was going to like kind of happen. And there's no way kind of to know until you're in that container. Now, I will say this again, as like a thing. I think that people love to dunk on coaching, or, bring all these things about like how much it can be a punching bag for this is a scam or this is whatever. I will say this. I think there's scam artists or people taking advantage of people in every industry. Okay. This is not something that's unique to coaching. Literally anybody that can make money off of something has used it to screw people out of money. Lawyers are scam artists, not all of them, but I'm saying like when I was a lawyer, I would watch lawyers do very unethical things in order to get clients, in order to get people to pay them when they knew that, anyways, we're not going to go into it, but there are lawyers. We've seen doctors, the people that you think like are there to just help you or whatnot. Like we've all kind of seen like whether they push certain pharmaceuticals because they get some kind of like money from that pharmaceutical company or whatnot. Like there's just different ways where you look at and you'll see like there are people that are amazing and wonderful at what they do. And then there's people that sort of take advantage of it. I could go on and on. It literally is in every industry. I remember a thread of people talking about this once on like Facebook. And somebody was saying like, I used to be a dance teacher and I look at like dance studios, and they were talking about like Soul Cycle or, these kind of exercise things and how they take advantage of people. It's like that situation is everywhere, which I do think makes us even more apprehensive to spend money on things, because we all have experienced that. We all have experienced like I sign up for that membership and then they make it impossible for me to get out, and I waste all this money on months of like trying to fight them. And so we become more wary of investing in ourselves. And so I realize like, but that is the case with my industry. Like for whatever reason, whatever other industry I don't deal with, I'm in the coaching industry. And there is a very real problem of people, making really big claims or using really flashy marketing and then not being able to back it up, or not giving people the transformation that they had promised. And so I wanted to acknowledge that. I don't think it helps to not acknowledge it. I don't think it helps to like kind of skate over it and try to distance yourself. And obviously you want to show that you are not that person and that you're not trying to take advantage of people, and that you truly are in this because you want to help. And I will say the vast majority of coaches I know really are just heart-centered people that were in a bad place and learned how to get themselves out of it and want to help other people, or have a soft spot for a specific population and really want to help those people. And they aren't doing it just to make a quick buck, and they really do love the people that they're working with. But I started really realizing like, okay, it doesn't help me to not address whatever the issue is in my industry with my client. And I encourage you, I'm working with individuals, but let's say you're, a social media manager and you work with brands. You really have to think about like, what is the problem that they're thinking about when they hire me, right? They're thinking like, I may not get my return on investment. If I pay this person, I'm still not going to get any reach on social media. Like I have to think about how to address that. Instead of not acknowledging it, or instead of like hoping that they don't ask that, or they're just desperate enough to pay me, I have to really like, my job as the business owner is to think about like, how do I differentiate myself from that problem? How do I show them that it is okay, safe to be able to invest in me? What is it that I can provide? And so I know for me, I started really thinking about like, there have been a lot of people that have done high-end, high-ticket things. And, maybe if you're investing $100 in something and you lose it, it's not a big deal. But if you are investing $10,000, it is a big deal. And so I really wanted to like address that, to show that like, I know that this is a problem, and I want people to understand that like, my goal first and foremost is to give the most transformative experience, and I am dedicated to that. And so that was sort of my way of being able to do that, and say it and kind of stand behind it. The other reason I did it was, obviously I've said a million times, like I want to create safety, right? So part of it was that I know how triggering money is for us. And I know how hard it is to invest, especially in yourself. We will all find the money that we need if our kid needs something, or our spouse needs something, or our ailing parents need something, or whoever. We will figure it out. We will do all of the things that society tells us we need to do. We will spend the money on those things to like make ourselves look a certain way or whatever it might be. But when it comes to like, can I spend this money on making myself feel better, making myself into a better person, investing in my own time and energy and future? It is really difficult for a lot of us. And a lot of us, like I said, it triggers really deep money wounds and really deep feelings of unworthiness. Like, am I worthy of spending $10,000 on myself? Who am I to do this? Who do I think I am? Who does this? Like, we have a lot of these thoughts. And part of the point of getting you in the program is to make sure that we can work on those thoughts and we can really like rewire that kind of thinking about how you think about yourself. But before I can do that, like I want people to feel safe enough to know like it is okay to invest in yourself, that this isn't going to be something like you're already going to be battling those thoughts and then having the thought of like, what if I get nothing out of this? I was like, I can't stop your thoughts of unworthiness or whether I should invest in myself before I work with you, but I can help you feel a little bit easier about investing this money. I can help you feel like this isn't going to be a bait and switch type of situation. Like, and so part of a big part really was to help people feel safe in deciding to move forward if they think that this is the right fit for them. Like if they're in a place where they know this is what they want to do, but they have these really deep kind of money wounds and they have the scarcity around money and the thought like of investing. I wanted that for that safety to be there. Another thing that I really wanted to do is I wanted to push myself. So one of the things I heard, I think it was from Alex Hormozi. I can't remember at this point. It was years ago. But it was one of these business kind of guru people on Instagram. And they were saying like that the basically fastest way to make money or make a business is to offer a full guarantee, right? Because not only does it give people like more confidence in investing with you or going with you, but it forces you to step up and deliver, right? It forces you, like, how would you show up if that is on the line, right? How do you show up in a different way when you know, like, hey, if I don't get them this result, I don't make the money that I thought I was going to make, right? And this is like a tricky thing because I think if you do this maybe too early in your business, if you still have like a ton of imposter syndrome or you don't think what you're doing, it can cause more stress than anything else. And you don't want that because it stops you from being able to actually serve. I think that if you're in your own head of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And like, if you're panicked about it, it doesn't really serve anybody. But I think, and that's why honestly, I didn't do it early on in my career because it was this thing of like, there was still constantly proving to myself, like, can I get people results? I think after years of being able to get those results, like I have a level of confidence in my own coaching and in my ability to curate kind of the experience that people need in order to have those transformations. And so it doesn't make me panicked, but it does really push me. I really sat and thought about if I want to show up as my best version for this group, if I really want to create an environment where I am all in with them and I am thinking about this stuff all the time. And obviously like I would always like try to do my best. It's not that I would mail it in. I would for sure like try to create the best experience. But I do think that when I have this, it's like a psychological tool. I do think it pushes me. I do think it has gotten me to be like, all right, we're doing this. Like we're going, this is all, like we're putting our all into this. And how do I show up as a coach? One of the things that I do think it has gotten me to think about a lot that I really wanted this is that I tend to be a people pleaser. I've talked about this. And while I have my own kind of brand of coaching and I really do try to, tell it to you straight, I do it from a very loving way, which won't change. But I've really thought about like, okay, if this is on the line, I have to be willing to say the really hard thing to people, even if it's going to make them uncomfortable, even if it's going to make them not like me, even if it's going to cause whatever it's going to cause. I have to be willing to kind of do the harder thing and say the thing that maybe they don't want to hear or that is going to hold them accountable to something. And that is the way that they're going to get that transformation. And so I've really thought about like, it's going to sort of push me to make sure that I don't have any of those people pleasing tendencies in this group. And I don't have the need to kind of coddle them or, make them all feel good all the time. It's really like, we're here to do this work. And if we're going to have this transformation, it's going to be hard work and it's not going to feel great. And this is what it's going to be. And so part of it was just like a selfish reason of like, I want to show up as the best coach I can be. And what would push me to do that? And I know when I was thinking about the guarantee, I was like, well, that'll do it. Because I'm like, you know what? There's no more like hemming and hawing about this. There's no like, we're all in, right? And so that was one of the reasons I really thought from a place of like how I can show up as my best self in this new container. And I was like, if I have it all on the line, then I just will show up different. It's just the nature of human beings, right? And so part of that was that reason. The last thing I will say is that I think that the other reason that I think a lot of people don't think about, again, you don't have to do a guarantee, but I want you to think about if you have a business, what would maybe be an equivalent thing for you, or what would be something that maybe you hadn't thought about. I want you to think about it as a business decision. So for me, when I was really thinking about it, it wasn't as though I'm saying it from a place of like cockiness of like, oh, I guarantee it. I know everybody will have a transformation. Now, I do think everybody will have a transformation. I absolutely do think that I can deliver on that. And that's why I would make this guarantee. But I really, if I think about it realistically, I was thinking about like, there might be one or two people who feel as though they didn't have it, let's say, right? There might be someone that goes through it and is like, you know what? I don't feel clear, or I don't have that clarity, or I don't know the vision, or whatever it might be at the end, which is completely understandable. Because while I believe really deeply in this work and in my abilities, I'm not a magician. Like there's no magic wand where like I can wave my wand and everybody has the same exact experience, right? Everybody's different. Everybody's traumas are different. Everybody's background is different. Everybody's level of comfort is different. Everyone's nervous systems are different, right? And so I don't know who everybody is that's coming into my program. I know generally how I work with people, but there is very likely somebody that's going to come in and maybe they're not ready for this work right now. Maybe they're not in a place that they can do this. And that's okay. It's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's just, it is what it is. And I sort of got to this place of like thinking about like, okay, if I don't take it personally, what I think a lot of people do, a lot of coaches, the reason they may not want to offer this even if they can is because when somebody we don't want to take on the responsibility of your transformation, right? We want to be like, well, I can give you the stuff, but I can't, force you to change, or I can't force you to do the stuff, which is totally true, right? And I think that it sort of gives us a little bit of like an out of like, okay, like I'm going to give you this stuff, but then I don't need to feel responsible if you don't have that transformation. And again, I don't think that I am responsible for people's transformations, but I do think I can facilitate it. And so I think that when people come and when we try to like create that distance is because like we know that there is a chance that somebody isn't ready or somebody isn't in that place, right? And I get that, like, that can't be, how can I know where you're at or what you're willing to put in or what you're willing to do or, what your transformation is going to ultimately look like. But what I wanted to do when I was thinking about the safety that I wanted to create is like, I wanted even those people, like I wanted like, okay, there is a chance that one or two people don't feel as though they got that shift, that they got that transformation. And I still want them to have a good experience. I still want them to be like, hey, I tried this and it didn't work for me. And this person gave me my buddy back. And I was thinking about it from a business standpoint. Like, I know that for the vast majority of people, I can provide this kind of transformation. So let's say instead of me getting 5 people in the group who, can get themselves to safety to invest, I get 10 people in the group with this guarantee. And even if I have to return the money for 2 people, I still would have, made more. My gross is going to be more with those 8 people because I got more people in that felt safe in order to do it, right? So the reason I'm saying this is that it's not as though this was just a tool of me doing and thinking like, well, there's, I'm going to push myself and I'm going to get every single person a transformation. That is my ultimate goal. That is like what I am shooting for. And I think I can get there. It's not something that I think is like out of the realm of possibility. I'm pretty certain I can get every single person in this program a transformation. But I'm also honest about like, maybe I can't. Okay, then I return their money. Like that is the worst case scenario, is that they are in this group, they get a beautiful experience, and then they get their money back because it didn't work for them. And that's okay. That doesn't mean anything about me as a coach. It doesn't mean anything about them as a client. It doesn't mean anything about the container. It just means that it wasn't a right fit. And I feel like if we can create a little bit more of that safety in business, where it's like not everything is for everyone. And if part of the business model, it becomes like we make room for that. Like it's okay that this didn't work for you. And I'm happy to kind of refund that. And I'm can help more people the more I do this understand who it is a better fit, who will have that transformation, then I can create more kind of guidelines or boundaries of who joins in order to make it a more transformational experience for people. But in the beginning, I can't have that. And so I say this kind of, I think that part of this was in my thinking where I think maybe other people, when they think about a guarantee, it's like, I can only guarantee it if I sort of know that I'll never have to refund that money. But I think about like, well, yeah, obviously you're not going to do it if you think you're going to have to refund everybody's money, because would be the point of that. But if you really sit with like, yeah, there might be someone that is not a good fit for me. There might be someone that just doesn't gel with the way that I coach. There might be someone who is just not ready. I can never know that before I go into it, but I can provide the safety for all of us to know like it's okay if that experience wasn't good for you, or if you didn't get the thing that you wanted. I'm willing to do that. Like this felt like the most way that I could show up in integrity with myself, knowing that like I'm not just quote unquote selling people on something. Like I'm truly trying to provide a transformational experience. And this is the way that I can do it. And I can do it with kind of guardrails, with this like safety net of like, if it doesn't work for you, then that is totally okay with me. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with giving you your money back, because I want to really see like how many people I can create this incredible experience for. So anyways, I don't know if that was helpful. I hope that this was helpful. You guys keep telling me you like hearing about things, like why I choose to do things or how I think through my business. And so I am hoping that this sort of thought process could help you. This wasn't just like sort of, can I create some kind of gimmick to get people to think that they can sign up? Like I really sat and thought through this, especially for such a high-end or high-ticket product where I am, putting up a lot of money for the retreat and all of that stuff. And I was really thinking about like, is this something that I can offer? And so this was a lot of the thinking that went behind it, that it sort of became a no-brainer for me to be like, I am willing to do this, especially on this first time of trying this. Who knows? I don't know, honestly, if I'm even going to do this group again. And I don't know if maybe the next time I'll come back and be like, well, I tried it and this is what went wrong. But I think as I'm experimenting with my business, I do want to do things that just feel better for me, feel more in integrity when I'm selling. And I know when I was selling this, I was thinking like I would feel safer selling this with a guarantee, so that other people can feel safer kind of joining. And so that's why I decided to offer 100% refund if you don't get the transformations that I promise on the website. If you want to join, because there is this sort of sense of a safety net for you, I would still love to have you. I think the deadline we set as August 15th, which is this Friday. You can go to quitterclub.com/mastermind to get all the information and set up a call to see if it's a good fit. Like I said, I think Friday's the deadline to apply. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and let me know. And that's what I got for you. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys next week.